Let's see the socks.
Let's see the socks? Yeah. All right. Got the socks on here. Oh, to this side too? All right. Now that we've got the socks out of the way, good morning, everybody. Knowing of your intense interest in covering the visit of the World Series champion Kansas City Royals,
Our intense interest?
we thought we would get the briefing out of the way,
Our intense
so that then you could focus on what I'm sure is the big news story at the White House today.
clarifying whose interest it is.
Exactly. Listen, before we get started with questions, I'll just do one other thing. There's another reason, another significant thing about today that warrants mentioning. Today marks the 6th anniversary of the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform Consumer Protection Act. This is a piece of legislation that the President strongly supported, and that's primarily because of the President's belief that never again should taxpayers be on the hook for bailing out the economy because of bad bets that are made by Wall Street bankers. That is why you've seen the President vigorously defend Wall Street reform from attempts by Republicans in Congress to roll back these critical financial and consumer protections. And 6 years later, we've seen significant progress on behalf of taxpayers in terms of making our financial system stronger and more accountable. Let me just give you a couple of statistics. Over the last 7 years, banks have added more than $700 billion of additional capital and can now withstand severe losses while still supporting the real economy. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which was created as a part of this bill, has put $11.7 billion in the pockets of more than 27 million consumers who've been harmed. That's $6.4 million for every single day that agency has been in existence. The $600 trillion derivatives market has been brought out of the shadows with additional requirements that ensure transparency in the market. And contrary to the predictions of the critics of Wall Street reform, we have succeeded both in strengthening the U.S. financial system and presiding over the recovery and expansion of the U.S. economy. Businesses in this time have created nearly 15 million new jobs. Families' wealth has grown by $30 trillion, exceeding pre-crisis levels. Average hourly earnings for private employees have increased 2.6% over the last 12 months. Foreclosure rates have dropped all the way back to pre-crisis levels, and business lending has climbed over 60%. In other words, we have succeeded both in making the financial system more stable, even as our economy has essentially become the envy of the world. And there's a lot of skepticism that these kinds of tough reforms would have a negative impact on the economy. And the President and the strategy that we have pursued with strong support of Democrats has actually proved those critics wrong. We've been able to do both, and it's American taxpayers and American workers who benefit the most. So this is certainly, when we talk about the President's legacy, this is not the first thing that comes to mind, but the successful implementation of Wall Street reform, particularly in the aftermath of the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression, is certainly an important part of, I think, what historians will assess about the Obama presidency. So with that, Darlene, let's go to your questions.
Excuse me.
All right.
Sorry, guys. Look, we had a real fear that Josh would get in trouble by hijacking the president's jersey. So we made a special one for him.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Thank you, Ned. I really appreciate it. Look at this.
You know Sally
This
and
is
Haas?
great. Hey, Sally, how are you?
Man.
Very nice to see you. Thank you.
There's a mug for you.
There, that is a big mug. I don't know if that fits underneath the desk. Thank you, guys. Welcome to the White House.
Thank you. We're excited to be
We're
here.
so glad that you're here.
Yep.
I know the President's looking forward to it, too.
So are we.
And this is a celebration worthy of a world championship.
It is.
So, good.
So are we interrupted?
That's
you
all
can
right.
get back to work.
You're welcome here anytime.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate
Nice
it.
to see you guys.
All right, guys.
Thanks again.
Take care.
I really appreciate it. Nice to see you. Hopefully we'll see you later.
Yeah,
for sure.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you, Swanee. Nice to see you, man.
You too, Josh. Back to work.
I don't know if this is going to fit underneath the podium here. So kind of. What's that? Of course I am. Look at this.
There you go.
That's pretty cool right there, huh? That's pretty good. See over here?
Cool.
All right.
Is that your first one?
This is my first one right here. I may have to wear that this afternoon. That's good. I don't know. No idea. Back to Dodd-Frank.
Back to the vocal room.
Yes. Yes. Where were we?
I wanted to ask, what is the reaction from the White House to Donald Trump when he says that the U.S. may not come to the aid of politic states if they're attacked by Russia unless they fulfill their obligations to both the U.S. and NATO?
Listen, there's obviously been a lot of discussion and debate and churn about the agenda being put forward and the rhetoric being used by the Republican nominee. I'll let other people weigh in on that. Let me just be really clear about the policy that this president has pursued, which is a steadfast commitment to our NATO alliance. The cornerstone of that alliance is a pledge that all of the allies have made to mutual self-defense. The U.S. commitment to that pledge is ironclad. The president renewed that commitment just 2 weeks ago today when he traveled to Warsaw, Poland to attend the NATO summit. Over the course of his presidency, one of the president's priorities has been solidifying the transatlantic alliance and strengthening the transatlantic alliance, and in some cases even expanding it. And NATO welcomed a new member, Montenegro, at this most recent summit. It's also important, I think, to recognize that the recognition that NATO is the cornerstone of American national security is a policy that the United States has pursued under every post-World War II president, Democrat and Republican. So this is a long-standing commitment that has been strengthened under the leadership of President Obama. And there should be no mistake or miscalculation made about this country's commitment to our transatlantic alliance.
Secondly, I wanted to ask about Turkey. They're moving there toward imposing a 3-month state of emergency after the coup. There have been a lot of mass arrests, school closures. The deputy prime minister there says his country is also moving to suspend the European Human Rights Convention. How alarmed is the White House by some of what's going on in Turkey? And also, the Germans today seemed to suggest that a 3-month state of emergency was not necessary, that it could be shorter than that. Does the White House think 3 months is too much time, or do you have any opinion on the length of the state of emergency?
I don't have I don't have a specific reaction to the length of time that's been announced by the Turkish government. What the president made clear in his telephone call with President Erdogan is that Turkey succeeded in fighting off the military coup because of the strength of that country's and those citizens to democracy. Turkey has a long tradition of democracy. These are principles that are enshrined in their constitution. And even in this time of turmoil, it's important for the democratically elected civilian government of Turkey to protect them. Now, at the same time, less than a week ago, some elements of the Turkish military launched attacks against those democratic institutions that resulted in significant loss of life. So it's certainly understandable that President Erdogan and other government officials are going to take steps to get to the bottom of what happened. The Turkish people have an interest in accountability, particularly for those individuals who conspired to attack the democratically elected civilian government of Turkey. But it's important, moving forward, that the democratic institutions that were critical to the success in repelling the coup emerge stronger than ever. And the president made that clear in his telephone call to President Erdogan. Even as the Turkish government pursues an investigation into what happened, the United States stands ready to assist them. And we remain committed to the stability and success of our NATO allies. Okay, Jeff.
Josh, following up on Turkey, the Turkish government has also said that there will not be a return to the deep repression of the past despite this 3-month state of emergency. Is the United States confident that that is in fact the case?
Well, Jeff, the president indicated that we're going to continue to monitor this situation closely, and U.S. officials will continue to be in close touch with their Turkish counterparts to signal our support for their efforts to investigate this coup and to bring full accountability to those individuals who may have been involved in trying to overthrow the civilian democratic government. But at the same time, we're going to continue to urge them to protect the kinds of democratic traditions and institutions that help them repel the coup in the first place and are critical to Turkey's success in the future. These are institutions that have strong support among the Turkish people. I think the best evidence I have for that is something I mentioned yesterday, which is that as the attempted coup was starting, there were strong statements from all of the political parties represented in the Turkish parliament condemning the coup. Those statements included an unambiguous message from the political parties that have vigorous political disagreements with President Erdogan and his government. So there is a commitment to the democratic process in Turkey, and that is a tradition and a set of rights and a process that's worth investing in and worth protecting.
In order to start talks to join the European Union, Turkey had to abolish the death penalty. Now that the Turkish government has said it's considering bringing that back to deal with plotters of the coup. The United States obviously has the death penalty, which makes it a little tougher perhaps to comment on this, but does the White House have any concerns about the consideration of bringing back that penalty in response to this crisis?
Well, the United States is not going to micromanage the